So we'll go ahead and get things started here. My name is Brian Hammond, Assistant Commissioner for Conference Carolinas. This is obviously a historic day for Conference Carolina. You obviously aren't here to hear from me either. So now I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Chris Colvin.
All right, thank you, Brian. First I want to thank all of you for being here today. As Brian mentioned, this is an exciting day for Conference Carolinas, an exciting day for UNC Pembroke and Francis Marion as well. To be announcing the addition of two fine institutions is an exciting opportunity for us. And so I look forward to the opportunity to speak with all of you today and answer your questions.
And at this time, we'll turn it over for those questions.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Chris, just asked you that a couple minutes ago, but again, just the excitement to have both these institutions into the CC and just what the Patriots and the Braves are going to add to your conference and things like that kind of going forward.
Sure. I took over as commissioner last summer, and one of the key initial areas of focus for me was just what can we do to make Conference Carolina stronger? I think there's a lot of ways we can do that. Of course, one way is just the way we operate our conference office, the professionalism we provide, and then the opportunities we provide our member institutions to increase the value of being a conference member. But another way that we can do that is by adding members. And as we entered into this process, it became very apparent that Francis Marion University and the University of North Carolina at Pembroke just made us stronger. They made us stronger in a lot of ways. They're very strong athletics programs. They have a real strong commitment to athletics, and we believe it will enhance our competitiveness even more. These are two institutions that really serve their communities in a really unique and special way, and they fit in really nicely with our initiative related to being champions in body, mind, and soul. And then geographically, they were a great fit. I think you'll hear from both of them that the ability to have their kids not on the bus nearly as long is going to be a real benefit to them. But for our institutions as well, it provided us some nice geographic balance. We now have 5 institutions along, what I would say the I-95 corridor in North and South Carolina, and then 8 institutions other than those 5. So the 13 institutions make up our league. So it accomplished a lot of goals, and these were just 2 great institutions that we thought really enhanced who we were, and it was unanimous across the board with our membership that it did exactly that. So we're really excited that both institutions accepted our offers and will be joining in 2021.
And the commissioner just alluded to it, but just so you know, and just as a reminder, both of the directors of athletics for Francis Marion and UNC Pembroke are on the call as well, and they're open for your questions as well.
Coach Hartzler, was the geography the main concern in your decision to lead the Peach Belt for the Conference Carolinas?
Well, it's a reason. I'm not going to say it's the single reason. Yes, if you look at it from travel, we're going to save an hour and 45 minutes on average in travel. So obviously, when you look at it from that standpoint, it impacts our kids academically. Number one thing is graduating students, all right? And so the academic ability to stay in class longer from that standpoint, and for student welfare, that's the big point that comes along with that. Yeah, travel plays that particular role, but it's really how do we better serve our student athletes here? And one thing under the direction of Dr. Carter here, since he became president 21 years ago, is we've tried to constantly be evaluating what is best for the athletic program here. This is not something that we come by lightly. It's something we've explored in terms of what is the best match or fit for us in terms of conference. And we have played a number of these schools since the 70s for a long time. I think 7 of the current schools in Conference Carolinas, we started playing them back in the 70s. And, and Pembroke going with us was really important. Very first year we started playing Pembroke in 1971 when we first started athletics here. So it's just a good match from that. The whole mind, body, and soul fits with us from that. We've done a lot of initiatives here in athletics with student athlete welfare, from mental health to nutrition to a peer mentorship program. And so their whole philosophy fits in also with what we try to do here.
And how about bouncing off of that? You mentioned, obviously with Pembroke going with you, just how about that rivalry, keeping that rivalry, in the conference, obviously a pretty important part?
Yeah, very important part. You know, it's been a very friendly rivalry. Dick and I get along great, and I got along with Dan Kinney, the former AD. Awesome. And we've went back and forth and kid ourselves a lot. But that rivalry has been important for our athletes, I think, on both sides of it. And so that's important for us to continue that type of relationship. And we, we'll hope to continue some of the relationships with the Peach Belt schools that are close, some of our sister schools. I mean, those are important relationships to maintain also.
Commissioner, will these teams be eligible for championship right away?
Yes, they sure will. 2021, when they join the conference, they are a full member with all rights and privileges of being a member and will be eligible for championships. Absolutely.
Okay.
Dick, what do you see as some of the biggest advantages as far as joining the Conference Carolinas?
Murray alluded to some of it, but when you got a chance to stick with your natural travel partner and rival, and still make a move that from a funding and competitive standpoint is a great fit. And then, being at UNCP, shockingly now, this is finishing up my 7th year. It's flown by, but all of my conversations with our donors consistently, when those guys tell old war stories and our former athletes, they're talking about Atlantic Christian and Mount Olive and Lees McRae. And they're talking about all these schools that have been historical rivals in the state. So to have 5 North Carolina schools, to have 11 in both Carolinas, that's a huge difference for our athletes' ability to engage the general student population and have them travel to road games. It's a great opportunity for us from an advancement standpoint to be able to get donors to road games and to drum up more rivals on top of Francis Marion, and have some more schools that our folks can get to and touch and feel and know. So it's a fit in a number of ways, and I just can't thank Chris enough for his leadership and being willing to consider it.
And then as far as the competition level across the 15 sports, how do you see that changing or staying the same as far as leaving the Peach Belt for the Conference Carolinas?
I think this is, I'll let the commissioner probably expand on this, but this is a monumental shift for the Southeast. I'm fortunate enough to serve on the NCAA Championships Committee, and as you look at it regionally and you look at at-large bids and things like that, as a 13-member league with a really tight footprint, all of your schools have a chance to invest more money in non-travel, right? So you enhance the student experience, you have a better chance to recruit better athletes. I think it makes the whole league stronger and has a better chance for at-large bids. For UNC Pembroke specifically, it's really sport to sport. You look at some sports, maybe the Peach Belt was really strong in one. You look at others like baseball. Conference Carolina is unbelievably top heavy in baseball. It's going to be a real challenge and a lot of fun on the baseball side. So I think you really have to look at it team by team from that aspect. But one of the unique things about the championship offerings in Conference Carolinas, I can't say enough positives about the Peach Belt leadership and how they really tried over the years to help UNC Pembroke. If you look historically, we've probably been best in wrestling and track and field over the history, the 60, 70-year history of our athletic program. And those just aren't sports that have been historical needs in the Peach Belt. But Peach Belt leadership, they constantly looked at ways to grow track and field, trying to start indoor track and field. At one time, they tried to get a wrestling consortium together to assist UNCP. And it just wasn't in the cards for those schools. So moving to Conference Carolinas and having 15 sports under the same umbrella, all pulling for the same goal. And if you look at how many teams in Conference Carolinas support those championships, now wrestling and track and field and indoor track and field and volleyball and all these sports that may not have had a whole lot of in-league competition, they've got robust championships and they've got a great chance to have an awesome experience.
Coach Hartzler, do you plan on adding any sports at Francis Marion as you're moving to the Conference Carolinas, which has so many sports?
We have talked about adding sports here over several years. Obviously, with the current pandemic going on, there's a lot of issues with that. I think that any school, any institution is going to have to solve first before moving forward. But to say that we have not looked at that would be inaccurate. We have looked at that with several different sports. I've given reports to the president about that, and I think we'll just have to see what the future holds here for us.
Is football one? And if so, what's the time frame for it?
No, football is not one that's being discussed from the cost. That's not something that we will entertain here in the near future. I mean, things can change, but that's not something that's been discussed.
Okay.
Well, since football came up, Commissioner, obviously 6 schools have football that's in this conference. Any possibilities, maybe future along the lines?
Sure. So our number now is going to be 5. We have 5 institutions in Conference Carolinas that sponsor the sport of football as of this fall, and so it's certainly something that's going to be on our radar. But I can say right now, it's football is not a Conference Carolina sport. 5 is not enough institutions to sponsor a sport from the NCAA standpoint, and even if it was, that wouldn't be a very practical scenario. I can tell you that our goal in the conference office as it relates to football is to support the member institutions that have it in whatever way we possibly can to help them be successful, not only in the sport of football but in the sports that we do sponsor in Conference Carolinas. And it's certainly going to be something that's always going to be on our radar. But there's no movement right now directly related to football. We sponsor. It was alluded to before, but I'll give you the exact numbers. We sponsor 23 sports independently ourselves, and then we're part of a partnership with the South Atlantic Conference for 2 more sports. So that totals 25 sports that our member institutions have the opportunity to have conference sponsorship in, and that's actually the largest in NCAA Division II. So we already have a very robust sport offerings whether it's 23 or 25, depending on how you count it. And then now we'll have 13 member institutions. So we certainly have a lot on our plate, but we're always looking to grow and make Conference Carolina stronger in whatever way we can.
This is open for anybody, but why the decision for immediate championship eligibility as opposed to sitting out a year or 2?
I mean, from our standpoint, I would say that that's probably a pretty standard now when you're moving within the division. Now, if you move from Division III to Division II or 2 to 1 or NAIA, there's going to be some sort of delay. But I would say it's pretty standard that there's immediate eligibility. But even if there's not, I think it just makes sense. I mean, UNC Pembroke and Francis Marion will be full dues-paying members of Conference Carolinas in August, September of 2021 when that school year starts, and so they should have every right and privilege of any of our other institutions to compete for those championships.
Coach Hartzler, was there a decision or rule by the Peach Belt that you felt was unfair to Francis Marion, or something that you didn't like? Is that playing in any factor in your decision to leave the Peach Belt?
The Peach Belt has been really good to us. I mean, we were an original founding member of that conference, and there has been it's been a great relationship for us over the years. But when you currently look at what, as Dick alluded to, the 11 members within the Carolinas, it's just a better fit for us, for our students at this time, for our fans, and for our parents of our athletes to travel. So it makes a really difference for us in the total student athlete experience with that. And as I also said before, these are schools that we have played. We predominantly played for years, so we've already been playing them. So it's not like, yeah, we went from one conference affiliation to another conference affiliation, but it's not like we haven't been playing Barton or Lees McRae or Erskine. You've been playing them since the 70s. So there's really no significant change from that standpoint. But it is just a better fit overall for the whole student athlete experience. There's no question about that. And to cut down travel time, missed class time, is going to make a world of difference for our student athletes.
I mean, this is for both ADs, but have y'all quantified how much it's going to save y'all, or what it's going to look like, that travel?
Well, I'll go first. Like I said, it's an hour and 45 minutes on average that we say, but to actually look at it in a different way, in the Peach Belt Conference, we have us, Francis Marion, we have 4 trips of over 300 miles and another one of 295. In Conference Carolinas, there's only going to be 1 trip of over 300 miles, and the next longest is 240 miles. So you start thinking about it in those terms, it makes a difference. Obviously, I haven't looked down, but it's going to save on hotels, overnights. It's obviously going to save on charter bus trips. But, we got to also wait till we get the schedules from Conference Carolinas to really put pen to paper to see what that is. But more importantly, there is we hope to reinvest in our student athletes if there are any savings, and make it a more quality experience for them overall.
So, Jonathan, just piggybacking off of that, I just want to give kudos to Conference Carolina's office. They've already structured and reached out to the coaching staffs and trying to be proactive to see what those schedule structures will be. We know the mileage averages, and we know we're going to be 170 miles shorter on average in league play. Now, some of that will depend how many schedules are, a double round robin, and do we play in pods, and what does each sport look like. But, we'll know immediately what does this allow us to now reinvest in the student experience rather than gas burning down for them.
Coach Hartzler, you talked about just the geography just being one reason you're leaving. Would you mind explaining some other reasons why you're joining the Conference Carolinas besides geography?
Well, I talked about the philosophy of the conference, right? The body, mind, and soul, and how that fits in with us. I think you also look at, Francis Marion has an independent governance board, all right, where the conference we're in, most of those members were under one governance system in Georgia, and so those schools couldn't make necessarily independent decisions about their athletic programs. So our governor's situation in our school actually more reflects some of the current schools that are in Conference Carolinas now more than it does reflect in the Peach Belt. The Peach Belt, its membership is different now than when the Francis Marion first joined it. That's not to say there's, the members are bad. It's just say it's different, and the reflection of our governance and our philosophy more reflects what Conference Carolinas is about now than the Peach Belt.
Okay.
Coach Hartzler, just kind of wondering what the feedback has been from some of your coaches, especially those who, maybe their conferences for their specific sport will be maybe a little bit beefed up as it was talked about.
Well, that's interesting, Casey. We did a good job here, or I think a very thorough job of vetting this move before we even explored it. And so the coaches and I with Dr. Carter had several meetings about conference change, and we had complete buy-in from every coach. It's also our alumni. The feedback that I have received today has just been all positive about the move. I haven't had one negative feedback about our move from our alumni and from our fans from that. So we try to vet this amongst our faculty, amongst our staff, amongst our coaches, and from specific alumni before we even made this move and actually asked them for a site visit, or possible when you're invited to have a site visit to make that happen, because it's important. You don't want to ask somebody to come in or show an interest if then you're going to have some red flags in your own house, right? So it was very important for us and Dr. Carter for us to do a thorough job of investigating that this is the right match for us and that we have buy-in from all our constituencies.
Any more questions from anyone, or for either the ADs or the commissioner, or we can, it's been a pretty good talk so far. Does anybody else have any more questions? All right, well, I'll turn it back over to Commissioner Colvin for final thoughts before we say goodbye.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Again, I want to thank all of you for being in attendance today. You all obviously have vested interest in Francis Marion and UNC Pembroke and reporting the news that's coming out of those institutions. One of the things, again, that we really appreciated and were attracted to about both institutions is the mission that each institution has to serve the local region. And we thought that was one of the components that made these schools a nice fit with our body, mind, and soul concept as well. And so I thank you for taking the time. We're really excited about this news. We're excited about September of 2021 being here and these two institutions being a part of it. We're going to be working over the next few months to create some schedules. And we look forward to a great future in Conference Carolinas with Francis Marion and UNC Pembroke as part of it.
All right, everybody. Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Thank
y'all.
you.
Appreciate it.
You guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.